Adi Dalid Omud Bays. Okay, we were talking about taking tziporin in the medudal, the usual case of someone. Really, you wouldn't have these cases of a hangnail if you were to religiously clip your nails every Erev Shabbos. But sometimes people forget. People don't do it every week. I don't know. I try to clip my nails every Shabbos. I think I missed once in the last 23 years. So that's a pretty good streak going. But then you realize come Sunday, it's like, wow, if you always clip your nails once every 7 days and suddenly it's been 9 days since you clip your nails, you really start to feel it, And so it sort of hurts. The Gemara here says, Tanya Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, Tziporin sheperash ruba, vitzitzin sheperushu ruban, bayad mutar v'chi chayav. He says here that if a person has a nail that's mostly come off, or a tzitz, that's what's the correct translation? It means a piece of skin. Sometimes you have it, you get a little cut, and it's easier. The flap of skin is already dead. Just remove it, because if it's already hanging off, it could be pulled and then it would hurt. So he says removing such things by hand is permissible. With a kli is forbidden. If you follow the Mishnah, hand lav dafka, but also with the teeth, let's say. The point is not using an instrument to do so. He said chayav chatos. So you'd be chayav chatos. That's a nice way of saying it's a prohibited malacha on Shabbos. Chayav chatos if he did it b'shogeg. If he did it b'mezid, he's chayav much worse. Next, mi ika midi divechli chayav chatat uviyad mutar. This is a little bit strange. The standard is that if you were to use a kli, chayav chatos, completely forbidden on Shabbos, it's the av malacha, or told thereof, but still a malacha. But if he does it with his hand, it'd be mutter. If he is chayav for using a kli, what should be the case if he uses his hand? No, pater aval aser. Pater, but not mutter. And if you start with the premise that bayad mutter, so with the kli should be pater aval aser. Okay, there's 3 stages here, but it doesn't fit. It says mutter l'chachila. Usually mutter means l'chachila, like the Rambam says. Hachi kamar. Here's what he meant. Perish ruban bayad mutar. If they completely detached on Shabbos, so to remove it on Shabbos, yes, that is permissible if he uses his hands. Bechli patur aval asur. But if he's using a kli, patur aval asur. Okay, still forbidden, but he is not to be punished if he did so, whether shogeg or mezid. However, lo perishu ruban, if the nail just has a little nick in it, okay, there's a little bit of hanging there, but it's not the majority of the nail. Bayad patur aval asur. If you're to use his hands to completely separate the nail, then that is prohibited before the fact, but he is exempt from punishment after the fact. Bichli chayav chatav. And if he were to use an instrument of some sort, his nail clippers, to remove such a nail, it's only poresh miktsas, not the rove. So it would be chayav chatos. That sounds like a good answer, actually. A good clarification that you have to add different circumstances. There's 2 circumstances. One circumstance is more lenient. One circumstance is more stringent. Omar Rav Yehuda halacha ke Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. What?
Shot here.
Yes.
When it says it's put in the chatchila, what would that be based on? Why would it be moved to the chatchila?
Well, there's the parish rove, and it's a kilach or yad. It's not he's not doing a real malach anyways. He's just using his hands, and it's mostly off. And they're going to throw in the tsa'ar aspect.
We can get the tsa'ar.
Yeah.
Put on my question. Havamina of the person who says that he can do it. What does rove got to do with it? And what is
Rubo kachulo, dummy. That means the koydam, so it's Aramaic.
I can't. If I tear out part of my hair, it will be okay. It's not a rove.
Yeah, Rashi says if it's already rove, krovin lina take. You're already falling off. You're not doing a little bit more.
Attached.
Yeah, so.
And I'm not performing any type of semi-malacha. I mean, obviously, it's machinery, it's all kinds of other things. But
yeah.
Something that bothers me about the chatchila, I can just detach it.
Yeah. Strange, right?
Very.
Because not a meleches machshev, it's already mostly off, and you're not using a kli. There's two of the major factors that would go into making this malacha aren't there. So, yep. Amar Rabba Bar Barchana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. V'hu sheperishu klapi mala u'mitzarototo. And also a third factor. You have to have this perish klapi mala, whatever that means, and it's causing a pain. Apparently, if it's, like I said, there's a difference between Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam here. Rashi says klapi mala is litzara tziporen. Hitchilu lefrosh, the kabitzaro leitfei. Sometimes I get this also. There's like a piece of skin right here, right where your nail ends and the finger begins. And it's a little, I don't know, you got a cut there or something, so there's a flap there. Why does it hurt so much, by the way? Because you have a lot of nerve endings at the tips of your fingers, right? Certain parts of the body are much more sensitive than others, right? If you actually look, I remember seeing a diagram that shows if a human was the relative size of different body parts based on how many nerve endings they have, right? So you'd see it be exaggerated in his hands and feet and face, okay? But your backside, for example, very few nerve endings there. You can have all sorts of scratches on your back and things, and it won't bother you. You might not even know it exists. Heck, you could poke a person in a certain place of his back with two metal nails, and only think he's being poked with one. Okay, so it depends on what klapi mala means. You look at the Tosfos over here. I think no, they don't have it here. Where am I looking? Oh, here, klapi mala. I have to scroll. I don't have the whole screen in front of me. Perish bekuntris connected Rashi etzbo tav shein lamala kishmagbia yodov. Means klapi mala means up, go like this. Rabbi Tam farish klapi guf karile klapi mala. Kida ashkechan beperak beis denida de kamar mina Torah ulamala. Lasam hainu litzada guf. Torah milamala. Okay, what is he talking about there? The member. But the point is, it's already a machlokas. Rashi and Rabbi Tam cannot agree which direction it is. But they do agree that it's because of the tsar aspect and the fact that it's mostly off and that he's not using a kli, that this isn't the malacha. Okay. We should also, like you mentioned last time, say that just because tsar is involved in something doesn't mean we necessarily have a heter. You can't say, well, someone is troubled by the prohibitions that apply to him, so now we're going to try to find a way to permit the prohibition of the Torah. Can't do that. Only where Chazal told you could. So Shabbos already, we know that malachas themselves are completely permitted when you have pikuach nefesh. Pikuach nefesh, doche Shabbos. You can't say, well, you have to keep Shabbos. There's some who made the critical mistake. They said that you have this deviant who has some sort of taiva of some sort, as an Isser D'Oraisa, that's what floats his boat. And he will die if he cannot have it. So they say pikuach nefesh, so let him engage in his gilui arayos, because if not, he will die. What's the problem with such a claim? That works with Shabbos, pikuach nefesh, but it doesn't work with the arayos. The explicit Gemara in Sanhedrin. There was a fellow who basically became lovesick for a woman who, according to many, wasn't even technically prohibited. If she had agreed to marry him, that would have been good, but they weren't going to be getting married. And they said, better that he die than even, talk to her on the other side of the mechitza. Why? Because pikuach nefesh overrides rituals like Shabbos and Kashrus, but it does not override, avodah zarah and gilui arayos. Okay, just to know. So you can't just say, tsar, pain. Well, you have to give these people what they want, because if not, they're going to die. Have you ever had a rabbi say better that the person die from such a thing? Pikuach nefesh, so we're not going to give a heter for such a thing. Thank God it doesn't come up that often. And I would think that if you had such a deviant who is making such a claim, he's got a mental illness even beyond his own particular fetish, because really, no, people can withstand that. That's not going to kill you. Okay, love sickness doesn't actually kill you. When Chazal said it, they were exaggerating, or perhaps there was one unique case, but it doesn't actually exist. Okay, let's continue in the Gemara. Braiding the hair. How often does this come up? All the time. Okay, especially if you're a woman. So it's a halacha that it's the type of sugi you should teach your daughters. Is there a question there? No? Okay. Godelet, kochelet, ufokeset. Well, the Mishnah mentioned these women who were doing this with their hair. We said, based on Rashi, that godelet was braiding the hair, right? That's what I said on Thursday. So I'm going to put it on the screen over here. He said braiding the hair, and kochelet was putting on eyeshadow, the blue stuff. And pokeset, Rashi gave two interpretations. He said it means a type of combing the hair with a comb or by the hand, or that she puts something on her face, a batzik of some sort, that then when they remove it, naturally reddens the face. Why I say naturally? Because nowadays, and actually for many hundreds of years, if women wanted to redden their cheeks, they just apply something called rouge, some sort of reddener, and that's it. That stuff is inherently red. It's the same process like a woman were to put on eyeshadow, just applying blue, so this apply red. What Rashi describes is some sort of material that when it's removed, the skin turns red. Okay, whichever way works. Let's see here. So those are what Rashi says. So the question is, where do these fall in the main list of malachas? The original malachas were talking about things they used to make the Mishkan. And women putting on makeup or doing their hair had nothing to do with the construction of the Mishkan. So these are obviously, if they are malachas, they are toldos of something and not av malachas. So the question is, whenever we have a tolda malacha, we need to know under which av category does it fall. That's the exercise we're trying to do here. Why does it matter? Because there's some who say you have to warn based on the av malacha, right? We'll give a proper warning. You have to know, where does this malacha come from? Heating up a piece of metal until it's red hot. Good question, right? Is it sort of making fire? Is it makav patish? What does it involve? But you have to know what it involves. Mishumai mechayva. So, which av malacha? Under what category do they fall? This chiyuv. Amar Rabbi Avin, Amar Rabbi Yosei bar Rabbi Chanina, godelet mishum oreget. Braiding the hair is like weaving. Weaving was done in the temple. They would weave the curtains for the temple, for example. Kochelet mishum koteve. Applying eyeshadow is like writing. Okay, writing is a prohibition. Rashi says here, from like writing, shemolicha mikchol saviv ha'ayin. Just like the word kachol comes from this in kochelet, a mikchol is the applicator of the eyeshadow. So she puts it around her eye. It's like a person moving the quill around the letter. And I don't know what that means, moving a quill around the letter. Was a person write a letter and then move the quill around it? I don't know. So why didn't Rashi just say like a person using a kulmus? It's a question. There's going to be a big question on the Rambam after this. His Girsa of the Gemara seems to be that he didn't have an answer to the kasha. He just said, well, that's the answer. We'll see this in a second. Okay. Pokeseth mishum toeh. And doing this with the hair, whatever it may be, Rashi's two shots, one of them Tosfos liked, is because of spinning. What is spinning? Spinning the wool or the goat hair into a thread. Okay? It's like spinning threads. Rashi says, "Shemitakenet Sarah bein etzboteha ufoshatatu kishahu nichrach." Okay, she spins the hair between her fingers like this, and then she lets it go once it's all braided up. Ulashona sheni, or if it was the second malacha I'm described in my perush, oseh meoto batseik kamin chut. Because she takes that batseik that she's supposed to be applying to redden her face, she makes a sort of string thing out of it. She strings it up. I don't know what Rashi's talking about. Okay, I don't know if there's a thing that women apply to their face that's a kind of doughy substance that they first have to make into threads before applying. Obviously by pulling it somehow, but that's what Rashi guesses. But this is just a havamina. This is going to be rejected soon. We continue. Amru Rabbanon Kamei de Rabbi Abahu. Okay, so the rabbis asked Rabbi Abahu, where they said to him, really, if a woman does that with her hair, is that like weaving? Is that what weaving accomplishes? You know, weaving works. It's really kind of a stretch. Is that how we write? It doesn't seem similar enough. Is that how we spin thread? Whichever way Rashi describes it, these answers do not seem satisfactory. They're too distant from what we see in front of our eyes. Ella Amar Rabbi Abahu. So Rabbi Abahu offers a different answer. Personally, I heard the explanation myself from Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Chanina. I'm going to change the daf. Hold on 1 second. I have to press a button in order to see the next daf. It says here.
That means that the original person didn't hear it properly. So the Avi
Yeah.
didn't hear it from the
Or, yeah, or maybe didn't have a strong Masorah. I wouldn't want to say it in negative language, but Rabbi Abahu is more certain in his answer, and his answer is going to be more satisfactory for the poskim also. That is, kochelet mishum tzovaat. What is tzovaat? The avmalach of tzovaat means dyeing wool or skin or goat hairs. What they used to do, the three materials that they were dyeing in for the temple, they would take wool and dye it 3 different colors: red, blue, or purple. And they took ram skins and they dyed them red. And they took goat hairs and they dyed goat hair various colors. Goat hair, if you make it purple, red, or blue, it wouldn't have a special name. If you take wool and make it purple, red, or blue, they have unique names. Techeles, Argamon, and Tulat Shani. Red is Tulat Shani, Techeles is blue, Argamon is purple. If you do that with goat hairs, they don't have a special name. It's just goat hairs with a particular color. And I guess it wasn't in such high demand. So,
permanent dye.
Yeah, permanent dyes.
This is not a permanent.
So this is like it. Kochelet mishum tzovat. One, we're not talking about wool or goat hair or ram skin. We're talking about the face. But technically speaking, if a woman were to put on eyeshadow, it would stay for a long time if she doesn't wash it off, right? I don't know. How long would eyeshadow last if you didn't?
2 days.
2 days? Well, I guess it would depend. It would depend on a lot of factors. Okay? So it's mishum tzovat. Godelet, what?
That's not right. Going back to-
Yeah, they rejected the writing. Now he's saying it's like coloring. Okay? A woman applying eyeshadow, blue eyeshadow, is like she's coloring her skin. It's not the same exact malacha, but it's to get a result. It makes it look nicer.
According to Rabbi Avi, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is. So
Yeah. Apparently. Let me just look back one thing. Yeah, Rabbi Yossi Mechayev. But the Chacham says it's Shavuos. Okay?
I'm not worried about the fun.
Really? I'd be worried about the
Makes
Chacham.
much more sense, but I'm trying to analyze and understand.
Yeah.
Especially when we get to Godelas, especially to understand and listen to your rights.
Okay. I think the Rambam is going to paskin that some of these things are also Shavuos, which means just an Isser de Rabbanon.
I assume it must be like a Chacham.
Yeah.
Yes. But what's the svara of Rabbi Eliezer? I'm not worried about the svara of Chacham. What would be the Havamina of Rabbi Eliezer? So I can understand, Kocheles is painting the eye. I can understand that Mamish is doing the same thing, and there's color, etc. Wait till we get to Godelas, that bothers us.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
this idea of dyeing, changing color. Does that have anything to do with the heat, changing the color of the water?
Well, look, if you wanted to dye wool, you need to put the dye in a hot vat of water. So that's the way it's done. Obviously, if a woman doesn't need to use hot water to dye her skin a certain color, but still causing a color change, so it's still a malacha.
Yes?
Yeah.
To make
Yeah.
tea or shop.
Oh,
Is
making,
that a sphere?
probably not, no. Because the water changes color, that's incidental, that's not what you're going for. You're trying to create a new drink. Water doesn't have a taste until you put the tea into it, and you're cooking tea leaves. That's bishul. When I cook chicken soup also, the water has a yellowish tint to it now, but that's not because I'm not coloring water, it's that I'm cooking chicken soup. Right? Cooking is an entirely different malacha with a different result and a different desired result, calculated desired result. Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing a tea bag and a cooling reveal. That's not Kedushin. He wants to know about coloring the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not coloring the water. If you stick a tea bag in cold water, it was a good type of tea that needs cold water.
But the
Okay.
woman's color.
Yes, so,
Changing.
yes, color, that's not, yes, it's the fact, that's not the intention.
Oh.
It's not the intention, it's not a malachas machshavas. Yeah, it's just a result, but it's not intention. No, because, so, if, when it comes to malachas and, these shvus and all that, Chazal looked at a few things. They looked at, what you're doing resemble the act of malacha? In this case, maybe not. Fine. then they look at what goal you're trying to accomplish. When a woman applies eyeshadow, she is trying to make it that the skin above the eye is blue because for humans, that has an aesthetic purpose, just like a person would try to turn wool different colors. The color is the desired calculated result. When a person is trying to put tea into water, a tea bag into water, the desired result is the taste. Okay? The desired result is the taste of the water. He wants the tea to impart the taste. The color is incidental. The fact that many things change color, but it has nothing to do with anything here. You're not trying to do anything there.
You have a principle,
Yeah. Ain't sleep.
yeah.
Yeah, and also mimareach doesn't apply. Because Al said, you want to do mimareach, you're taking some sort of applied material, a applied substance, in order to smooth the surface, whether it's skin or wood, whatever it may be. That's mimareach. But if you apply butter to your toast on Shabbos, assuming you didn't toast the toast on Shabbos, so that it looks like mimareach, but there's no mimareach with regards to food. Okay, because you're not trying to create a nice buttery surface on which you can then do something else. Tomorrow you're not constructively making something. You're just applying, butter to your bread. And other examples. There are many malachas that involve this. It looks like, well, isn't this a malacha here? No, because that's not what you're going for. So look, if you do have, let's say you would have a meshugana for some reason. For him, it's not about the taste of the tea; it's about the color of the tea. Taste be damned. So in that case, yeah, I would say in Hakinami, he is doing a form of coloring. So he shouldn't do that. But
It doesn't apply to the Oakley.
doesn't apply to Oakland, yeah. No, I'm saying if you had a Meshugana, I said, but Ladaito, there's certain foods that when they acidify, they change color slightly. This is like with the cabbage we make. You take red cabbage, red onions, or beets. Their color tends more to the purple. But if you give them any drop of vinegar or lemon juice or any other acidifier, or you ferment them such that they become acidified, they turn more red. You notice that? We do this in the house all the time. So the kids ask, can you, aside from the fact it's a miracle, can you squeeze lemon onto a salad on Shabbos? Okay, so there's permission. Let's say you have the lemon juice already in a bottle. You put lemon juice on your beet salad or on your cabbage salad, the color changes. Isn't it so bad? And the answer is, we're not trying to change the color. This is just incidental that the salad, when you apply the dressing, changes color a little bit. And it actually looks like it's dressed now. But that's not what we're trying to do. And there's no tzivia with regards to ochli. And that's what Chazal are saying. We don't try to paint our food. We're trying to make our food taste good. So that would be permissible. I hope that answers the question. But we're gonna see these next two things. Godelet and pokeset. What does it say here? Mishum bonet. Now, that's how many hold. That seems to be the bottom line you can find in halacha books. Shouldn't have the woman do her hair, part it in a certain way and tie it up here, or braid her hair because it's like construction, which is really difficult, by the way. I think this is the most difficult one, but yeah, the chi derech binyan mekach yeah, there actually is examples. Kedarish Rabbi Shimon ben Menashe, Vayiven Hashem Elokim et Hatzelah, Melamed Shekilaa Kadosh Baruch Hu lechava, V'evya Eitzel Adam. Okay, so part of the presentation of man with the woman that God created, her name wasn't Chava at the time. Adam Rishon named her twice. First time he met her, he says, Lazot Bikorei Isha, because I'm Ish, so we'll call this Isha. Ki mi Ish tu Chafazot. And then after all the to do with regards to eating from the forbidden fruit and the snake and their expulsion from Gan Eden, what does it say? Man called him Chava, Ki im Hayitha, Ein Kol Chai. So that's kind of interesting. How many people actually get to name their wife and actually do it twice? Say, no, I was wrong the first time. First time your name was too general. Now I'll give you a much more specific name. Okay. It's interesting. That's what? What?
The first wife died.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's kind of, I don't know how many women would consent to marry a man who wants to change her name to his previous wife's name. That's a little bit weird. Okay. Pointed out that it's interesting. You read those two chapters in Genesis. What do you find about these names? Adam is originally given the name Adam. In that case, it means what? It means both men and women. By Krashma Madam, Zachar and Akeva, they're both Adam. And then Adam is specific to the male. And later, Adam is not even humans or male humans, but rather it's a personal name. It's his actual name, a proper name of this first man, which is interesting. Working with the Korean people, this was something I was trying to bring up a big argument. When you translate the Steinsaltz Chumash, when do you start calling Adam in his English translation capital A, Adam? When does that become his personal name? For at the beginning, you should translate the man, but eventually it becomes a personal name. When does that start? So the name Adam becomes more and more specific as you go along, whereas the woman has the opposite. Originally, her name is Adam, just like, which is the same as the man. And then she's given a more specific one because she's female, so that's Isha. And then she gets a personal name at the very end, Chava. Okay, interesting how that worked out. Rabbi Soloveitchik has a lot to say about the whole parsha there. So it says here that Kadosh Baruch Hu actually did up her hair also upon presenting her to Adam. Shekain b'chrakei korin l'kliyata banita. They call the woman who braids women's hairs. They call her, I guess, a construction expert. She's constructing things. Now, if you look over here, this halacha about these three malachas, Rush and Rif don't discuss it right here. These ideas are not brought immediately in the Rif and the Rush. And then you look at this Ein Mishpat Ner Mitzvah over here. What do you notice? Lamed Vav, Lamed Vav / Aleph on the top left. You see what's going on there? That's a real long one. Normally, it just tells you where you could find this halacha referenced in the Rambam, the Torah, and the Shulchan Aruch. Usually, Torah and Shulchan Aruch overlap. But what does he have here? A whole long explanation about how it seems that the Rambam and others don't have this. Okay? The Rambam certainly doesn't have it this way. That Kochelet Mishum Tzuvat, he seems to have, according to the answer, Kochelet is still Mishum Kotevet. You see that? So I'll put this on the screen here. Oh man, not enough time to do it, but it would be a shame not to see this. I have here Hilchos Shabbos of the Rambam. So I'm going to show this quickly to those guys who are looking home. We're going to read the halacha. You'll see that there's something fishy going on. Hold on a second. Kochal. No, it's not working here. So he says here, Hatzovea miavot melachot. This is in Kaf Beis Kaf Gimel. Okay, in the Rambam, he says coloring anything would be coloring wool, for example, is a malacha. The fichach asur liisha lavir srak al paneha mipnei shehi kitzovat. A woman should not put srak on her face. Srak means rouge. She should not put red stuff on her face. That's what the Rambam says in Parak Kaf Beis. If you go one chapter earlier, I think it's Kaf Aleph Yud Beis over here, one chapter later. Hold on a second. Yeah, Kaf Gimel Yud Beis. Rambam brings next chapter. He says Kaf Gimel Yud Beis Kotev mi'avot milachot. Writing is an av malacha. Lefichach asur lichol bapuch v'chayotze bo b'Shabbos b'pnei shehu kichotev. Applying eyeshadow is forbidden, not because it's sovat, like you said in the previous chapter. I would think that rouge and kochal, which is once again eyeshadow, basically the same principle. If you say that applying rouge to this part of the face reddens it, that's sovat. So applying some blue over here would also be sovat. What does the color matter? One's blue, one's red. And as a matter of fact, that's what the Gemara seems to say. Our Gemara tells you right here that a woman applying some blue above her eyes, that's sovat. But the Rambam has it according to the first explanation. Kotev mi'amot melacha, lefichach asur lichol bapuch v'chayotze bo b'Shabbos mipnei shehu kichotev. See that? It's the original. Something's going on here. This is what they say is what the Rambam had. Did the Rambam not have our Gemara? Good question. And apparently, there are Rishonim and Geonim who came before the Rambam also, who had it that in the answer it says Kochelet Mishum Kotevet. That stays. And the original question was, wait a minute, V'chi derech kesiva b'chach? And the answer is, I believe, according to the Rambam, look in, I don't know whose wives are into doing makeup, but there's something I discovered from my daughters. I don't have any sisters. Okay. If my mother was doing these things, she's doing it like, very discreetly. So I couldn't learn how makeup works until much later in life. There are some forms of makeup that are applied with a big poofy brush. So rouge, it's a big thing. There's no specific line. Yet, with regards to certain things with the eyes, eyeliner stuff, they actually use something that looks like a pencil. So it's as Rashi describes. So indeed, I believe this is what the Rambam's getting at. There are certain types of makeup that a woman applies, generally in the area, like Rashi says, tach paneh, just plops it on. So those types of things are tzovat. But if it's a type that actually has, like Rashi says here, the quill, or whatever it is, something that's fine point, or even not such a fine point, but you see that it's applied by a person, the woman actually holds it the same way you hold a pencil or a fork, fine motion, so that would be a malach of kotei. And indeed, they do that. Matter of fact, I was shocked to learn this, but I should have known this. Another thing, there are some women who tweeze their eyebrows. For men, I guess this would be considered one of the prohibitions of what lo tilbash, that a man should not have his eyebrows done like a woman. That doesn't mean a man can't trim his eyebrows if it gets a little bushy. Fine, your barber can do that for you. But there's some women that really want to get such a fine eyebrow job. What do? They completely remove the eyebrow, and the beautician is able to draw on new eyebrows. The best eyebrows, apparently, for those who make a profession of modeling, are drawn on. You know this? Yeah, they actually use an eyebrow pencil like a thing, or they leave very little actual eyebrow. The rest is perfectly drawn on. Okay? So imagine if you could draw, you can't grow a decent beard, so you draw on your beard when you're younger. I know some guys doing that, but that would look fake. But that I believe is the answer basically for the Rambam. Okay, who wants to go further? Or who wants to stop? Because we could go a little bit more.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So I guess we'll pause here.
We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. If you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.